A legendary weekend in the Lou. PGA Tour champions compete in the Stifel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th. And see O.A.R. Perform live with your Friday ticket. Visit StifelCharityClassic.com today.
Andy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Brenden Schaeffer in on a Tuesday. I'm Randy Karraker. This will be the second biggest podcast in the world today. You're right. Matthew Rocchio's here. He's going to be using the bubble today.
The bubble.
Yeah.
Make an appearance.
He's got to get it out. Yeah. So there's another podcast, but it doesn't go in. I think they go like at 5 or 6 o'clock tonight. So you can just Google biggest podcast today, right, man?
Usually they release early in the morning, but I think it's tomorrow at 6 p.m. is when
tomorrow. Is
when the entire industry gets cut.
Wait a second. We could still be number one today.
We could still do it.
Right.
B-Schaef, bring the hot takes, say some things.
And we have a chance. Tomorrow's show, that'll probably be the second
We're
best.
got a new album coming out.
I do not, but she might.
So we're talking about the Cardinals today. So there's our Taylor Swift reference of the day. Glad you enjoyed it here on the Randy Karraker Show. So Schaef, what transaction do you make with Miles Mikolas today? DFA him, release him, cut him? What do we do with Miles today?
All right, hold on.
He goes into the 6th inning with a no-hitter.
Yeah, his 7th gets into the 7th overall. He pitches next time at Busch, so I think it's safe to keep him for the time being. Mm-hmm. Look, you get what you get with Miles Mikolas. You're gonna get some good, some bad, and even last week when I was thinking move the guy to the bullpen and stretch somebody out. You knew that this was not only possible, but probable that he would, whether it would be this week or later this month and sometime in September, when he's on, when he's sharp, this is what it can look like. Really efficient, in the zone, not wasting pitches. And look, when he was sharp like last night, really not a ton of hard contact either. And so he was able to have a great game for the Cardinals. I thought they were going to squander the brilliant outing. But Donny comes up off the bench and was able to deliver, and you get the win that you had to have if you want to continue thinking the positive thoughts about the Cardinals season.
And to his credit, Mikolas didn't even have a ball hit hard against him in the 7th. You got the bunt single, and then Gorman throws the ball away.
Yeah.
And then the Moniak with a bloop that sends runner to third, so you got 1st and 3rd, and then Bernabel with a ground out to score the 1st run, then Karras with another ground out, and then Doyle with the base hit to score Moniak, and that was the hardest hit ball, and it really wasn't hit that hard. And so they've got their 2 runs there before Leahy comes in and is dominant again. So congratulations to Miles Mikolas. I wonder how much of the perception of Mikolas is, well, I guess I shouldn't guess that because people are down on Palante too. I think we kind of have an overall lack of understanding about what a number 5 starter is, because most teams, even the Doyers, they don't have number 5 that is going to go out and be great every time. Normally, your number 5 is either bad or a roller coaster ride, and he's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
maybe a bad roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Part of it is maybe the fact that Cardinals fans feel like you have too many of them.
Yeah, they do.
Yep, Palante is kind of fits that mold. Mikolas certainly fits that mold. Eric Fetty did fit that mold.
Well, he was a 5.5.
Yeah. And so you had 3 guys really for the bulk of this season that you would describe in that way. And so I think when you're thinking about a normal rotation and your number 5, well, he comes up every 5th day. When he comes up 60% of the time, that can maybe grate on you a little bit. And then you can look at a guy like Sonny Gray's season. He's had ups and downs. Liberatore has had ups and downs. And so if you're a Cardinal fan, you're kind of going, I don't know, every day we could get one of those types of number 5-esque performances from somebody. And it's a years-long problem where the organization has not developed enough guys with swing and miss. And so you're kind of in this spot. I think the contract with Mikolas is part of it too. People know how much he's making, which shouldn't really matter. Not to say that like you want the Cardinals to continue signing contracts that don't pan out in that way. But also this year, functionally to this year, if they had moved on from him or cut him or whatever, the DeWitt ledger stays the same. It's just a matter of, you don't have to watch the bad Mikolas starts, but the bad ones stick more than the good ones do, but he has kind of an equal amount of both.
Yeah. And back in my day, when the Cardinals would bring up a young pitcher, you'd expect that young pitcher to deliver innings. Danny Cox came into the league and he was already a 200 inning guy. I mean, Kurt Kepshire threw 180 innings and he was a number 5. He's kind of like Mikolas. Then Tony brings up Matt Morris, and Morris is a 200 inning guy. And you expect that ultimately from a guy like Alan Bennis, who never became that guy, but he was ready to, because managers and especially front offices had no qualms about a pitcher throwing 200 innings. And I think with the way that pitchers are conditioned in the minors now to go 5 or 6 innings, nobody expects to go 7, 8, 9 innings. You have a situation now where it's acceptable to throw 150 innings. Well, here are Palante and Liberatore at 123, and they're still on an upward scale, because in addition to not expecting young pitchers to throw a lot of innings, they work them up to that level. So he's going to throw 110, then the next year we'll jump that by 20%. So he'll throw 130, and then the next year we'll jump that by 20%. So it takes 3-4 years to get a guy to 150, 160 innings. And that's where Liberatore and Palante are now. Palante in his second year is starting, but really didn't start all year last year. And Palante it's been a long time since Palante has been a full-time starter. So I think there's a lot that conspires against pitchers being able to consistently deliver solid performances from the time they arrive on the big league scene.
Yeah, especially when you're thinking about getting into the 7th inning like Mikolas does yesterday. And it's interesting to look at Mikolas, because you mentioned like the sort of 200 inning unicorn in today's game. But when the Cardinals were in the midst of signing Mikolas to an extension, that's what they thought they were going to continue to be getting from him, because he was doing that several years in a row. And so they give him the new contract. What has happened since then is more of those inconsistencies, more of those tough outings where he is allowing more hard contact happens. And they've sort of looked in and found out, most of the time when he's struggled, it's been kind of breaking down after that third time through the batting order. And so we're going to try to protect him from himself. And that kind of has taken away some of the value that Mikolas historically has brought, his ability to eat innings as a back end of the rotation guy so that you're saving your bullpen. But last night was a little bit throwback, because he was able to do that. And then they were able to, you talk about throwback, Kyle Leahy going 2 1/3 to finish a game. That's one of those things that couldn't have happened if Ryan Helsley and Phil Maton were still here, but it works. Like if you give it an opportunity with the right player, and Kyle Leahy, I think, is that guy that I've said he's the one I would stretch out. It works, and you were able to, it wasn't like a piggyback, because Mikolas didn't need to be rescued after 4 innings, but sort of like a piggyback, because those 2 guys were able to handle 9 innings, and that's a break for the rest of your pen. That is sustainable if you can get the consistency from the starter that leads it off the way that Mikolas did yesterday.
By the way, Chip Caray is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Okay, so if you aren't going to allow me to DFA Mikolas today, can we at least trade Brenden Donovan?
Can't do that either.
Darn it.
I mean, it's August for one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
For another factor, I think he's pretty good, so I'm not so sure I'd want to dump him.
But he's 28.
Well,
I mean, he's old. He's ancient.
Man, how does that make? I was going to say me feel. But then I was thinking,
even worse. I'm dead.
Well, R.I.P.
So here's you want to keep good players on your team.
More good players, better than fewer good players.
Yeah, no doubt
Agreed.
about it. A huge pinch hit, hadn't hit in a couple of days, did take BP and doubled to right down the line, scored both to JC and Hampson, and the Cardinals have the 3-2 lead. That Kyle Leahy ultimately protects and gets the win. And Brenden Donovan, in addition to being a really good player, some people just have that gene, that clutch gene that a lot of the analytics folks disagree about. They don't think, there's no such thing as clutch. I think Brenden Donovan is clutch. I would beg to differ with the numbers people, because he comes up with big hits and big plays a lot of the time. And last night was a perfect example, I thought, of him coming off the bench cold against a pretty good reliever who's going well, and getting the big hit to give the Cardinals the lead.
Yeah, he definitely feels like one of those types of guys where the moment's not ever going to be too big for him. And this is even coming off of a stretch where he's struggled, like in the leadoff spot for the Cardinals the last several weeks. He's not been himself. How much has that been trying to play through some different things versus, just having a slump, which happens to everybody throughout the course of a season? Who's to say? But it was kind of nice to see after a little bit of a respite, he comes in and, like you mentioned, was maybe feeling a little bit better going into yesterday's game where they could have potentially used him in a pinch. The pinch arrived and he arrived with that moment. And that's the kind of guy you want more of. Like I understand the idea that Cardinals fans are kind of fretting over, well, we don't have the superstar player. We don't have the guy that's really an anchor that's going to hit the 30 home runs and drive in 100 and OPS 950 and be an MVP candidate. And, unless you trade for some top prospects, you'll never find anybody that turns into that guy. That's sort of the attitude. But we were just talking about it before we came on the air today. The Milwaukee Brewers, without any players on the new list from ESPN.com of the top 50 players in Major League Baseball, the Brewers are doing pretty fine without a quote-unquote superstar caliber performer this year.
Yeah, you just need to have a lot of people performing at a certain level and being consistent, and that's what the Cardinals are trying to find. You, Mama, you're funny. I'm looking forward to all the Trade Donovan replies today. I thought this was a good one from our friend Bubs. To be honest, is it just me, or has the bullpen been better since the deadline? The bullpen has done really well. The reshaped bullpen has done really well since the deadline. I don't think it's been better, but I think it's been as good as the other guys were. Now, these guys are going to get runway, and a guy like Leahy, who had his lull, appears to be back on the beam. But Riley O'Brien, we're seeing a lot of. Romero, people are seeing more high leverage situations than they saw before. Swanson, and they're performing really well with the opportunities here. Now, can they do it? And Schaef, I hope that the Cardinals are in the hunt right now. Only 3 games out of the wild card. I hope they're able to hang in to this level heading into September, so that these players get an opportunity to experience what it's like to go through a playoff race. And for me, the most important guys to experience that, and it's important for every young player, but especially young guys in the bullpen.
Yeah, I always rejected this idea that if you traded away your leverage relievers, you are going to have a complete, meltdown August, September. And it was going to get to the point where those young players that you're hoping can glean some positive experiences would be like lost in the wilderness, and it would be a complete wasted month and a half. 2023 was like that after the trade deadline, but this is not 2023's team. They came into the deadline around 500. Now they're a couple of games above. That year's team was 13 games below 500 at the end of July. And this year's team has guys in the bullpen that they've oscillated through all year, and it's been kind of hit and miss. But guys like Riley O'Brien and Swanson were showing signs prior to maybe this elevation and role that they're both getting. And now you're getting to see, sometimes with a reliever, it's as simple as, oh, he's got great stuff, but he hasn't put it together. Sometimes you throw him into the role that he's destined to fulfill, and it's like, oh, he locks it in. That's what we've seen from Riley. Really, Swanson has impressed me more than anybody with the way that he has gone from mop-up duty, multi-inning bulk guy to, you can throw him into leverage spots, you can throw him into any part of a game, and he's going to throw upper 90s, maybe even touch 100 and be great for you. I'm just looking at the last 15 days stats on MLB.com, so not perfect relative to when the trade deadline happened, but you've got Leahy with a 0 ERA, Swanson with a 0, JoJo with a 1.29, and Riley with a 1.69 in the last 15 days. That is,
there you go.
That's your new back end of your bullpen. And guess what? It's working out okay. I don't know if it's going to be better than what it was before, but it was certainly the case that those guys are going to be able to give you something, and you'll get to evaluate what it looks like for the future. So good on the Cardinals for not shying away from this idea that, oh, we can't trade half of our bullpen because we're going to stink. Yeah, you're going to have to wait and see and find out what these guys are made of. And turns out they're keeping you in it now.
A couple of points. Number one, the 2023 team, and Matthew Rocchio and I were together on the radio at that time. And we called the triumvirate of Casey Lawrence, Jacob Barnes, and Chris Vonderhaar the Holy Trinity. Is that what we called them? Yeah, we called them the Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity.
Yeah, because they were, I mean, you had to do a lot of praying when they came into the game. And I don't know if any of them are pitching in the majors right now. I don't think Jacob Barnes is. I don't think Casey. Seelaw might be. I think I might have seen Seelaw bouncing around. But then I know Chris Vonderhaar is not.
Chris Vonderhaar.
Yeah. Well, Drew Verhagen, I called him Chris Vonderhaar.
Yeah. You've got names for everybody. It's hard to keep up, but once I got it, I can.
Okay, it's part of the
file it away.
Part of the gag. Here's the other thing, and you made a great point there about young pitching, because remember in 2006 they get rid of all the old guys, and it's Brad Thompson, Josh Kinney, Josh Hancock. I think Randy Flores was there all year. Tyler Johnson and then Waino have been in the bullpen, but he becomes the closer. I mean, that was. I would think that once Tony La Russa started using those guys, he got more comfortable. He must have hated the idea of having all of those young guys in that bullpen, but they came through. He kept putting them in games, and they wound up winning. And it was in large part because Izzy got hurt and other guys kind of failed in September. But the group did it. They performed at a really high level. And sometimes a young bullpen, they just do it. If you have stuff, you can do it.
Yeah, out of necessity, you find that they're able to, come through for you or not, right? And then if the answer would have been not, and maybe it still becomes that, maybe some of the guys that are performing great now won't in September, you'll at least have an ability to learn about that for next year. So it was really a no-lose situation, in my opinion. You get some assets for the expiring players in your bullpen because you aren't going to get anything from them. And this wasn't a year where you could pin all of your hopes on sneaking into the playoffs because of those guys. And so now you say these other guys that, maybe statistically our chances go down of sneaking into the playoffs, but then what happens if they emerge? Well, not only do you still have a shot this year, you've now learned, you know what, these guys are okay to rely upon for next year. And we don't need to go out and buy quite as many Phil Matons, maybe still get one or two. Yeah. It'd be nice, but you kind of have a better understanding because you've been able to evaluate what's going on.
Okay. So Jeremy Hodge, and I need to know, first of all, in an 8-man bullpen, how big is the circle of trust? Who is in your circle of trust in the bullpen right now? So I trust JoJo at the moment. I certainly trust the way Leahy is throwing. You mentioned a couple of guys with 0 ERAs. I'm inclined to give Riley O'Brien the benefit of the doubt here.
I'll trust him. I'll trust Swanson. I might fall off a cliff eventually, but that's where we're at. Those are the guys that it's going to be. And I feel pretty good about all of them for the moment, honestly.
Yeah, I do too. And so I'm trying to think of who Graceffo isn't here. Graceffo's down again.
Currently down.
And we don't know about Alcala, or is it Alcala? I think it's
Alcala.
Alcala.
I believe that's how Ricky Horton said it.
Alcala. So
Ryan Fernandez would be a name where you're like,
all right,
he's come back and has not really demonstrated a whole lot of difference.
Munoz.
Yeah, he's just kind of another one of those guys and give you some innings.
Yeah.
But his numbers have been, he's given up 1 run in 3 innings the last 15 days. So we haven't seen a ton of him.
So we've got a nice 5-person circle of trust here, right? With JoJo, O'Brien, Swanson, Leahy, and I guess that's probably it right now.
That might be largely
bad, though.
How you feel. That's half.
Yeah, half of your bullpen. I'll take that. That's acceptable. Bub's checking in now. Just because they're pitching well right now doesn't mean I don't think we need to add relief and starting pitching this offseason.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things, and it's interesting to talk to pitchers who pitch in the bullpen. And Maton was a great guy for this. You need, and Andrew Kittredge was last year. You almost have to have a guy down there that teaches young pitchers how to be good relief pitchers. And I mentioned that young group from 2006. Russ Springer was a huge key down there. So was Izzy in helping guys deal with the pressures. It's not typical. I mean, a lot of these guys come in to the majors and they've been starting pitchers before. Gordon Graceffo is an example with the Cardinals now. And it's different warming up to be a bullpen pitcher and warming up to come into a game than having 20 minutes to get ready as a starter. And the good, solid veteran teammate reliever will help those young guys advance in a career. Something you go back to, and now because of the pitch clock, you can't do it anymore. But Izzy told Waino before he became the closer for the postseason, he said, don't forget to breathe. Because a lot of times they do. And I think little things, they seem like little things. They wind up being big things that a pitcher has never thought about before. They wind up making him a really good relief pitcher.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you can't really know till you go through how a guy's going to respond to some of that stuff. It's good to have those guiding forces and those veteran presences down there. And it's one of those things that for fans and even for like media and stuff, it could be out of sight, out of mind because, well, they're down there in the bullpen. We don't really see them. We don't really know what goes on. That's kind of their own little world out there. But like they're sitting there the whole game talking to the same guys, hanging out with the same guys. And there's, a lot that can be gleaned in a positive way if you have guys with experience down there to be able to provide that guiding hand. And it's sort of when you think about going out and the makeup of a bullpen and acquiring different guys, yes, performance on the field is one thing, but when you're looking for that particular free agent, having a sense for what is that guy going to bring, just because he's old doesn't maybe mean he's a veteran that's going to guide the youngsters. Like having a sense for that, I think is maybe an underrated part of what it looks like to go out in the offseason and actually construct your bullpen as a front office.
I want to stick with the bullpen. Let's start with Duvey, who said, who do we give credit for this to? Well, Ryan Fernandez he was a Red Sox and Chaim Bloom knew of him, but Mo did wind up getting him. But I'll if we're going to give credit to either Bloom or Mo, I'll give credit to Bloom because he probably said, hey, this guy's got a chance. Granillo, Mo guy. Leahy, Mo guy.
O'Brien, there was a connection there with Chaim.
Yeah, he'd been in Boston.
Yeah.
Munoz, Mo guy. JoJo, Mo traded for him.
Edmundo Sosa. I mean, that's a good trade.
Yeah.
That's been a really solid trade for the Cardinals.
And then Swanson was part of the Toronto trade. Was that DeYoung?
That was DeYoung, who was, was there for 2 weeks because they had an injury to Bichette. And again, it took some time. He was an A-ball, high A, when that trade was made as like a reliever too old for the level he was playing at. And so you're thinking, all right, not, the numbers might be nice, but you're not expecting anything. Right. But he has really developed. And that's, again, it's easy to kind of pour on Mo for the things that don't go well. But a couple, you mentioned the JoJo and the Swanson, those are two deals that we maybe didn't even think it at the time, but those were really good deals in the way it's panned out. Absolutely
wind up helping this club. Eddie Grant, too bad Bloom traded away 3 of our best relievers for a long shot, low-level prospects. The second Dodger game could have been won, but Fernandez and Granillo allowed 7 earned runs late in the game. We still have some excellent relievers, but they cannot pitch every night.
It's a Facebook comment, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, Eddie, thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Oh, Mason Windu checks in. Injury update.
B-Schaef, come on now. Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
I didn't say anything. I was just seeing the little F next to Facebook. Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Yep. That's why I love when B-Schaef hosts.
F is for
we don't lose any venom from that chair.
Mason Windu, injury update on Arenado. Do you have any new info? He was headed to Florida.
That's where I'd want to go
to work out there.
My shoulder's even feeling a little creaky. Can I go?
Yeah. Not California, not here. He did decide to go there. And so as of last Friday, they were still thinking baseball activities in 10 days. So I believe that the earliest we'll probably see him is late in the month or maybe September.
Seems right.
Yeah.
I would say he might sneak back by August. It was about whatever it was, 7 to 10 days of strengthening the shoulder and trying to, get through whatever discomfort, weakness, combo of, because when you've got a weak spot, you try to compensate, and then suddenly you're talking about injury creeping into other areas. And when he was dealing with the finger issue too, talking about throwing the ball, and there was a game where I think this was probably back in July, he had to leave the game in the middle of it because he said, I didn't want stuff to start creeping up my elbow and then, forearm and such. So he has a lot where I feel like they just want to get him feeling good physically and then, work his way back up. He'll be able to take some live at bats down there on the complex and, probably eat some really good food while he's down there too. Really, so like I said, if anybody wants to let me rehab for 7 to 10 days, I will go to Jupiter as well. I will take that sacrifice.
And I do believe, in fact, I know that there is a thought process within the organization that wouldn't be heartbroken if he would wait until he's absolutely, completely, 100% feeling like $1 million or $42 million before he comes back.
Okay, and that seems right. Not surprised to hear you say that. Can I ask though, what do they do about third base in the interim? Because the gentleman that played there last night defensively, I don't think you can.
You just got to teach him to play again. He was a good third baseman in the minors. His problems are throwing. You just have to give him reps because he's not gotten any reps.
So you would want to just kind of plow through fourth with what's going on,
and as long as he's
play
through
it, and work hard.
As long as he's working at it and getting better they had to do it with Jordan Walker and Wright. It's their own fault.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
and he's performing. Gorman is performing at the plate. I mean, he's taking his walks. He's getting his hits. He's been on base a ton of times. There's been one game in his last 10 or 12 where he was 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. And you look at that and you're like, well, in a past iteration, that would have been the thing that got him benched for 3 or 4 days at a time. Mm-hmm. And instead, they're doing the right thing. It's just putting him right back out there after one bad game, and he's rewarding their patience with that offensively. I noticed that when the ninth inning happens last night, Sajacy moves over to third after Donovan comes into the game.
Yeah.
And Sajacy was your starter at second. Gorman was your starter at third. If you're trying to win more games, I might switch that. But to your point, if they want third base to be a long-term option for Gorman, maybe you just have to ride through that and come what may when it comes to the standings. And if there's a close play that turns into an error that loses you a game, can you live with that? Because this is the developmental evaluation phase.
Well, and last night was a really good example of inexperience. He gets the ground ball, is humming, and makes the throw over to first. Probably should have just eaten that one on the bunt, right?
Sure.
And keep the runner at first, but he throws because he's the game's too fast for him. And the only way you get the game to slow down for you is to get reps and keep playing.
Yeah, let us know in the chat which side of this one you come down on, because I could see both sides of it. As we were talking last night on the post-game show here on STL Sports Central, I said I would just put Sajacy there because it feels like you're close enough now to where the wins and losses matter. The Mets are scuffling. You're 3 games back of the wild card. And I think if it's Sajacy, Gorman as your 2 infielders there, I'd want the guy who I trust more at third base to be playing over there. But I could also see you've made some good points about, hey, long-term, if this is what it's going to be for Nolan Gorman, and he was a third baseman in the minors, you might have to see him through some of that, but be comfortable with what it means.
I think they would like to see him better physically conditioned too. The back and the weight. I think they would like to see him be in a little bit better physical shape to try to play third. Finally, Joseph G., the gentleman who played third base last night, makes it sound like a fan got onto the field. And it does happen at times.
He was very, very good offensively and has been for a couple of weeks. But defensively, yeah, I've got my quandary when it comes to, okay, the Cardinals are starting to climb their way back into this. We're talking about them as a team that you sweep up the Rockies like you're supposed to, and suddenly this weekend series against the Yankees gets really interesting. I wonder, does it ever oscillate back from evaluate, develop to, hey, we want to get, the most opportunities that we can to win baseball games?
Matthew?
How should I word the poll for me? I want to put out a poll for the listeners right now on whether or not they think there should be word the poll for me.
I would say if you've got an infield like last night where Gorman and Sajacy are starting at second and third, which one plays second and which one plays third? Who do you want playing third if that's your infield, which is not going to happen a ton when Donovan's back 100%, which we talked about last night on the postgame. But that's it's one of those minor details that, because it only may show up a couple of times, for the rest of this month, it maybe goes unnoticed. But I noticed it when you go Sajacy at third.
I sensationalize it a little bit. I'm going to go with who do you want playing third if the Cardinals make a wild card run?
Do whatever you want.
Good. And Wesley,
because the answer to that is Arenado, but that's
yeah. Wesley, maybe they could use the DH for him. Wesley says teams will bunt towards Gorman until he shows he can get runners out. I'm surprised it only happened once last night. I would suggest that teams will not bunt until they show they can bunt, because most players in Major League Baseball can't. And they can try to bunt towards Nolan Gorman all they want, but if you can't bunt, it's really hard to bunt for hits. Is our buddy Chip Caray on the line? He is. Chip is on the old Zoom with us, and we always enjoy talking to the TV voice of the Cardinals on FanDuel Midwest. He's actually working today, not working like his regular job, but he's moving into a new residence, and he is, oh, look at that. He's getting ready to get the new house going. How you doing, brother?
Oh, it's great. Wayfair's terrific.
There you go.
That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Good interview.
Before we start, though, are you a handyman?
Yeah, I can put. Yeah. I got no problem putting stuff together. I think when the ultimate demise of America comes, it'll be from plastic packaging, though. I've come to find that out. The hermetically sealed things that you get that are packaged not once, not twice, but 3 times is really, really an amazing thing. When we try to reduce recyclables and we have 3 cardboard boxes surrounded by styrofoam on a plastic package, I don't get that. But I'm going to be enjoying that here for the next couple of hours.
Okay, Chip, I'm with 3 youngsters here in the studio, but was there anything more difficult or unnecessary than the wrapping for a CD?
Yeah, dumb.
Remember?
Totally.
Remember that?
Yeah. Stupid. It's like, you put a rotary phone in front of these young whippersnappers. They have no idea how to make a call. And if you say the numbers 33 and a third, 45 and 78, what's the common theme? They have no idea what we're talking about. They missed out on so much.
They did. And when we would buy compact discs, the way that they were packaged, unless you had like a really sharp knife or a scissors, you couldn't open it with your fingers.
Yeah,
It was unbelievable how tightly those were wrapped.
They really made you want to listen to that music. So, good times had by all.
Yeah. All right. Let's start with Miles Mikolas last night. What an impressive performance.
Yeah, he was great. He was terrific. Changed speeds, pitched backwards. Didn't have trouble with 2 strikes. He got soft contact at people, contact that was soft yet hard enough to get a lot of ground ball outs. I think he had 10 of them. He had some traffic that wasn't his fault. He pitched out of that by and large. So we said it on the broadcast. It's really rare in this day and age of Major League Baseball to have a 9-inning game where you only use 2 pitchers. That was kind of refreshing and fun. And that really sets up the Cardinals bullpen for the final 2 games of this series. And a lot of that credit certainly goes to the man that started, Miles Mikolas. He needed that kind of game, and we certainly did.
Yeah, Chip, and you mentioned the bullpen. Last night it was Kyle Leahy continuing to do what he does, which is pitch in a variety of roles, and he's your bulk man and your closer, essentially, last night for the Cardinals. But it's not just been him. That since the trade deadline where you traded away some of your key components of that pen, guys like Jojo Romero, Matt Swanson, we've seen Riley O'Brien step into new roles. What's impressed you about the consternation of, oh man, you're really losing some key pieces, but then seeing the way that some of these other guys have stepped up into their new roles? Oh. He did not like the question.
Oh, we're working on it. He'll be back in just a second.
He's on the move. We can see that.
Yeah. So we will make that work. But I think what'll be interesting here is to see whether or not Ollie Marmol and Dusty Blake decide on like a 6th, a 7th, 8th, and 9th. Like
right.
We didn't have, but like everybody talks about that old HDH, Herrera, Wade Davis, Holland bullpen in 2015 for the Royals. I'm intrigued to see if the Cardinals, before the end of this year, decide on a closer. And Chip is back. So Brenden was asking about the bullpen situation, and you just heard what I said. Do you think that this is going to be an audition, or do you think there's a chance that they could pick guys to have roles as we head down the stretch here?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think it's going to be an experiment. I think Ollie has been very clear about that. And sorry about that. I don't have Wi-Fi set up yet. That's something else that I really get to look forward to today. So if I'm in a grumpy mood during the game, you'll know why. No, I think this is going to be a fun challenge for Ollie. You mentioned, in the days where you had Helsley and you had Romero and you had Maton. Okay, that's pretty rote baseball, right? When you have the lead, you play the matchups lefty, righty for the 7th inning. You've got Maton if it's a righty lane for the 8th, and then you got Helsley for the 9th. We only have one left-hander in the bullpen. So, Ollie's going to have to find guys that can get opposite-handed hitters out. And I think that that's going to be one of the challenges and one of the fun things that he's going to experiment with. And I think to your point, I think what's been really fun about what we've seen so far from this group is there's been no drop-off since the Cardinals unloaded the veterans in their bullpen. In fact, I think you can make the case they've actually pitched better. Guys like Riley O'Brien have stepped up and taken on that role. We know about Kyle Leahy, I think is going to be a starter in the major leagues, but for now is the bulk guy. And I think a lot of what you'll see tonight from Liberatore is going to determine what Leahy's role is going to be the rest of the way as the Cardinals try to monitor his and everybody else's workload. But the guys that have come out of that pen are throwing strikes. They're throwing hard. They're getting swing and miss. And as we know, that's what plays in postseason baseball. The stat that was eye-popping for me that I saw the other day is 52% of all postseason innings last year were pitched by relief pitchers, not by starters. And when those guys come into the game and there's traffic on base, a base runner is a rally. And when you have the ability to get swing and miss and strike out guys and limit contact, you have a great leg up on your opponent. And I think we've seen a lot of evidence of that from these guys that have come in these new roles, taking advantage of the opportunities and making the most of it and giving Ollie some more options that maybe neither he nor our fan base thought he would have after the deadline.
And Chip, I want to ask about one guy that at the beginning of the game last night weren't sure the impact he would have, but Brendan Donovan coming off the bench the way that he did, How impressive was that to you after not playing for a couple of days and knowing the spot of the season the Cardinals are in after 2 really good series wins? You wanted to get that one last night, especially with how Mikolas gave him a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like the old Willis Reed moment, right? He limps onto the court out of the locker room for the Knicks in the NBA Finals. We talked to Ollie before the game, and he said Donny was going to go through all of his progressions, and if he felt good, he would hope that he would be in the lineup today. But he said yesterday, I would be reluctant to use him. I really don't want to. That was kind of the way Bobby Cox always did things in Atlanta. If a guy says he's good to go and he's cleared by the trainers, he'd always say, one more day. Let's give you one more day. It's not going to kill us. It's not going to do anything but help you. But look, the moment presented itself. And I thought Oliver Marmol managed one hell of a baseball game last night. He managed his bullpen great. He knew that he was short at the end of the game with O'Brien and Romero pitching a lot of innings in previous days. He pulled the right string in getting Donovan up there. He brought in Pozo to pinch hit. Other than a great play by Kyle Karros at third, it's a 2-run game. That ball was a missile. And Karros showed you why he won the minor league Gold Glove at third base for the Rockies organization. That was one hell of a play yesterday. But Ollie did a great job. He pinch ran in the right spots. He sacrificed a little defense for the chance to get more runs. And 1 run was enough. And so that was just a fun baseball game. It was well played, well managed, and using Donovan in that spot was uncharacteristic. But boy, did he need that hit, and boy, did the Cardinals need that hit. Because look, like it or not, and I think we all like it, we're 3 games out in the wild card. We're a half game behind the Reds. Every game matters a lot more now. And when you're playing a team like the Rockies that are struggling so mightily, the teams like that, if you don't beat them, those are the ones you look back and say, that's why we missed the playoffs. You got to beat Colorado. You can't afford to lose this series. You've won game 1. You need to win game 2, and then you get greedy and try to sweep them and get set for the Yankees coming up this weekend. So it's a great series, a great homestand of opportunity for the Cardinals, and really love the way they took advantage of it last night in all facets.
Hey, Chip, we've been talking this morning about the defense of Nolan Gorman, and granted, he has not had a lot of reps at third base, and Ollie is going to handle this in a certain way. How much have you talked to Ollie about the defense of Gorman at third and how that is utilized going forward?
Well, we know that Nolan, when he's right, can hit with anybody. What we don't know is how well he can play consistently defensively at third base. 4 errors in 8 days in August isn't going to feed the Bulldog. That's not good enough. He'd be the first to tell you that. What's surprising me is it's his throws. He's kind of like aiming the baseball to first, in my opinion, and that's cost him a couple of errors. We got to find out. I mean, this is all part of that runway term that we all have grown to hate over the course of the 2025 season, but we got to know, can this guy play third base? He's going to be there, I think, exclusively. I don't think you're going to see him play second base for the Cardinals until Arenado comes back, and he's still at least a week and a half, 2 weeks away for St. Louis. So he's going to get every opportunity, all the runway, all the road that he needs to show that he can play every day at third base. And a lot of that's going to be footwork. A lot of that's going to be conditioning. A lot of that's going to be how his back holds up. And more importantly, it's going to be performance, because 2 errors last night, certainly uncharacteristic. And that's not what we've come to grow accustomed to seeing on the left side of this Cardinals infield.
And for him, 249 games in the majors, 31 starts at third base. So as we mentioned, it's not like he has a lot of time over there. And I would think, right, Chip, as the game slows down for him, last night I thought it was just happening too fast with the bad throw. And I wonder if the game slows down, if he'll be better.
Yeah, I hope so. And then you hope that the Steve Sax syndrome doesn't kick in, like, oh God, I got to be perfect with my throw, all that. So, I mean, there's so much more to it that plays into it than just the throw itself. Look, Gorman's going to be a terrific player, but like anybody else, anytime you do it more, you're supposed to get good at it. The old 10,000 hour thing that Malcolm Gladwell talked about all the time. And I really believe that's going to be true for Gorman. It'll be true for just about anybody that gets a chance to play. He's going to have 2 weeks to play over there. He's going to have 2 weeks to show what he can do on all sides of the baseball. And I think we all have a great deal of confidence that he's going to get it done. Last night wasn't his best game defensively, but that's the beauty of baseball. Cardinals still won the game, and you wipe the slate clean and start anew tonight.
Chip, the atmosphere we saw with the Cubs in town over the weekend was a blast. And obviously you want to take care of the Rockies here, but how much is folks on the outside, the players have to focus on the game tonight, but can we look forward a little bit to what this weekend against the Yankees might look like, especially if the Cardinals roll in with some more victories on their backs?
Yeah, hope it's a big crowd. Hope people show up. Tickets are reasonably priced. There's $20 tickets from what I understand this weekend for the Yankees. We're going to have the Friday night party. as we always do. Look, anytime the Cardinals and Yankees get together, the two premier franchises as far as world titles are concerned in Major League Baseball, it's a big event. This town appreciates history. They appreciate the lore. And I'm sure when the Cardinals and Yankees get together, we're going to be thinking about Bob Gibson and Mike Shannon and Lou Brock and all of that. That's what makes it fun. And I think this team has done an amazing job this year, I think, of filtering out the outside noise. This Cardinal club doesn't get affected by how few or how many people are in the ballpark. They don't get concerned with how big or how little their lead is or the deficit is in a game. They just go pitch by pitch, play by play, inning by inning, and game by game. And for a young team to be able to do that, I think, is a reflection of Ollie. The temptation is, to look ahead to the Yankees and have a little bit of a letdown after the Cubs series. Cardinals made their own energy last night, and they're going to have to do that for 2 more nights. And to win a game like that last night, I think, was really important. You lose that one, you're really, really feeling bad. Coming back, after the great series against the Cubs. So the way that the Cardinals won, the way that they played last night, I think gives us a great deal of hope against 2 tough left-handed pitchers coming up for Colorado these next 2 days. And we know the Cardinals have had their issues against lefties. So they're going to have to grind, but that's the nature of this team with 40-odd games left. That's what they've done all year. And I would be shocked if they laid an egg these next 2 days against Colorado.
Hey, Chip, I know that you really like watching young players and young teams grow up, and you did that in Atlanta. And because I wasn't there and you were, are there any common denominators? And if there's not, just say it. Are any common denominators between the young Braves team that grew up and won a World Series and this Cardinal team?
There are some. I mean, we're starting to see the pipeline of young pitching that Atlanta had get here in St. Louis. They made some very tough trades. They traded Justin Upton, they traded Craig Kimbrell, and got Max Fried back, who turned into, a Cy Young candidate and a big-time playoff starter. One thing that the Braves had that I think we're missing a little more of than just Nolan Arenado is the guy that I think will go down and should go down, in my humble opinion, as one of the most influential Braves of all time, was Nick Markakis. The Braves signed him from Baltimore. He had a neck injury, and they weren't sure if he was going to be ready to go opening day. He was about 70% on opening day against the Marlins in his first year with the Braves, and provided the game-winning hit on opening day, and really set the tone and taught Dansby Swanson and Freddie Freeman and guys like that how to play, what it meant to be a big leaguer, the grind, the leading by example. And oh, by the way, leading by just giving you that look where if you don't straighten up, I'm going to kill you, as the bells toll for me. That's something that I think is really, really valuable. And I think that's something I would like to see the Cardinals get a little more of. This is a young team. They're building their own culture, but having that guy with the back of a bubblegum card to really show these guys what it's all about, I think, is something that I hope Heimblum goes after in the offseason. And I think it would be a really, really helpful thing. But you're right, Randy, there are some parallels. Both organizations lived and died with player development. That's what they did. The Braves drafted and developed usually homegrown high school pitching and had the time to get those guys to the major league. So we're in a bit of a different scenario, but as we know, if you pitch, you have a chance to win. If you don't, you don't. And the way the Cardinals pitched last night, I think, is proof positive of that statement. Hopefully we'll see more of that the rest of the way.
All right, Chip, before we let you go, you brought up Steve Sachs, and one of my all-time favorite stories is about a former Cardinal, Pedro Guerrero, who was not a good defensive third baseman. And he makes an error one time. Lasorda's got him in the post-game meeting, got the whole team, and he says, "Pete, what are you thinking out there?" And Guerrero says, "I'm thinking 2 things." And he says, Lasorda says, "What's the first thing?" He said, "God, don't hit the ball to me." And Lasorda says, "What's the second thing?" He says, "God, don't hit the ball to Sachs."
Yes, exactly right. And the whole locker room broke up, and it broke the tension, and it got Steve Sachs and the Dodgers going. Look, I think fans, I hope fans understand how hard this game is to play. And it's really easy sitting up where we sit to say, "Oh, what an easy." Harry used to say that all the time, and it drove me nuts. There are no easy plays in this game. It's really, really tough. And it's really, really tough to do it at 24, 25 years old on the fly, where you're trying to just survive at the major league level. The fact that this team and these guys are doing that, and this team's around 500, I think is a testament to their talent. It's a testament to the coaching staff that Ollie's put together. It's a testament to what Ollie has done and how patient he has been in understanding the process. And I'm really excited about the future here, and I hope our fans are too. We're not used to this in St. Louis. We're not used to these 500 kind of seasons. It's tough. It's not easy. It's hard to win one game, much less a championship. But come grow with us. come build with us. Come cheer these guys on, because I promise you, they are giving you everything they've got every single day. And I think this is a group of guys that our fans should be, and I hope are proud of. I know I am. And I really, really enjoy watching them grow, watching them play. And I can't wait to see where their very bright and promising futures take them, and all of us by extension.
Hey, stay hydrated out there, Chip.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Do you want to see the boxes? Hold on. Let me see if I can do this.
Yeah.
Let me show you what
I
I
want
get
to
to put
see them. Yeah,
together
this
here.
is great.
Oh, yeah, this is great. Oh, it's terrific.
Yeah. I think last time you were on with us, you told us that you'd spent like a week's pay on Amazon. So now Wayfair's getting some of the carry check.
Here you go. You ready? You ready?
Yep, ready.
There they are.
Holy Toledo.
So if I'm late, you'll know why.
Thanks,
And the guys didn't even take it in the house for me. They wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, they want you to carry that
Unbelievable.
yourself.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
come
I
over.
mean, I'm a
I'll
strapping
come
young
over
lad. I can do that, but it's like, what are we doing? Come on, I'm 60 years old. I can't carry this stuff by myself. So pray for me. And if you hear yelling and screaming from Soulard, you know who it is.
All right, Chip.
See you
Talk to
guys.
you later. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks for coming on.
bye.
You're the best. Chip
Too
Caray,
good.
the TV voice of the Cardinals. Man,
Too good.
that's a lot of boxes. That's a lot of carrying.
When you say, hey, hold on, I'm going to show you. You're like, all right, I don't really know what we're in for, but the payoff was worth it. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He's great. And I'll tell you what, Pedro Guerrero, kind of a forgotten Cardinal because he never was in a World Series with him. Number one, he was so when he was here, man, he was a really good hitter and carried the Cardinals actually for a couple of years when he got here in 88, 89, and then for part of 90, but just has a great personality. And he was a fun guy to have in a clubhouse. And you can tell with that little joke there, just don't let him hit it to sacks. And then they wound up winning, I think, after that might have been the 81 season, I think. It might have been the strike season where they beat the Yankees in the World Series. But he was fun. Matthew, did you have something you wanted to add here? No, we're all good. Hey, we do want you to know that our friends at DraftKings Pick 6 have some great stuff happening for you. And if you want to have some fun, then all you need to do is download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Just grab your phone, go to the app store and download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, and you'll be amazed at how much fun you can have. And I tell you what, I have a lot of fun every single day with the DraftKings Pick 6 app, and I hope that you will find something that you like to play today as well. So, for example, if you go to the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now, just pick up your phone, and if you want to look Cardinals, you can do that. But I kind of like to go all around to baseball and find the things that are most fun for me. Shohei Ohtani going against the Angels, his former team, 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I think he's going to be able to pull that off against the Angels today. So I'm going to go with a little Shohei, and then I'm going to go a little local too. I think we should always go a little Cardinal. So if we want to go with, I'm debating here because Herrera, I love Herrera, but I don't think that he's hot enough. Are you on board with Ivan Herrera doing something big tonight?
Facing a lefty, right? I mean,
yep.
It would be nice to get some right-handed punch out of this lineup the next 2 days when they're facing left-handed starters. So
okay, so I'm going to go over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs for Herrera, and that will be my DraftKings Pick 6. All you need to do is download the app and use that promo code right there, STL Sports. And if you make a $5 deposit, you're going to get a bonus from our friends at DraftKings. It's available right here in Missouri. It's probably available where you are. I have partnered with them. I love playing DraftKings Pick 6, and I know you will too. DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Schaef, top 50 players according to ESPN.com.
All right.
Cardinals don't have any, neither do the Brewers, Rockies, or Braves, which is interesting with Ronald Acuna and Austin Riley, how quickly they forget. Then in the American League, no White Sox, no Angels, and no Rays. Who do you think the best Cardinal player is? If you could get a Cardinal player to slide in there at number 50, who do you think it'd be? Mason Wynn for me.
Yeah, that's not a bad answer. Let me look at the update on his latest numbers. The defensive season he's having, by the way, unbelievable.
He's great.
I believe he leads the league, both leagues, and outs above average according to StatCast. He's been a league average hitter, and so that's maybe something that docks you a little bit when you're talking about top 50. But like right now, you look at Donovan, his numbers are kind of fading off a little bit offensively, so it's hard to make that argument. Wynn has the highest upside of any of the current Cardinals. Maybe Weatherholt will be in that conversation next year, but he's not on the team yet. Mason Wynn is going to be one of the best defensive shortstops in the league for the next, 5 to 8 to 10 years. And hopefully he develops offensively into a guy that gets that OPS a little closer to sitting close to 800 than 700. And if he does that, he's one of the best players in baseball. So he's the right answer to that question.
And I don't think that they have made any egregious errors in terms of leaving Cardinals or Brewers or Rockies or White Sox out. Their list of the top 50 for me is reasonable, and these are all subjective, obviously. But I don't think that there's anybody on there that I'm saying, man, how could you put him on the list, but not Mason Wynn or Brendan Donovan or anybody else that the Cardinals have? I think the one team that I would look at is the team with the best record in baseball, and maybe it's just too early to have Brandon Woodruff on there, but he's pitched great since he came back for the Brewers.
Yeah, Jackson Chourio was the name, and that I was maybe not was thinking I would see, but didn't. But his OPS at 785, like his numbers offensively not jumping off the page, but he's still so young. Like, do you give a little bit of a bump for projecting forward? It doesn't really look like they've done that with this list. Like Matthew Boyd checks in at 47. He's been great for the Cubs this year. He's a little older player, and so you don't necessarily think it's going to be this way forever for him. But they're really kind of looking at a snapshot of what's going on right now. And, I think that's probably reasonable. You mentioned it with Woodruff, just maybe not enough of a sample this season yet.
And I think it's a sales pitch for teams that do it the right way. For the Brewers to not have anybody in the top 50, but have a group of guys with 785, 795, 805 OPS.
They're all the same guy.
Right. But they don't have an Aaron Judge. They don't have a Shohei. They don't have a Cal Raleigh, but they've just got a bunch of guys, and they've got nobody that sucks, which is not a bad way to go, especially from a pitching perspective. If you have a group of pitchers where you have no fear about pitching them ever, that is a huge part of success. And that's one of the reasons when the Cardinals won, both in 2006 and 2011, I don't think Tony La Russa had any fear whatsoever about putting any of those pitchers into a game.
The Brewers right now are the model organization. We've said this for a while in the NL Central. They might be just the model organization in baseball when you look at what they've been able to do. And it's like they can do a couple of different things at once. They can bring, Jose Quintana back in and have him pitch to a 3.4 ERA. So they've identified a free agent that they're not paying too much, but he comes in and sort of as a mercenary, pitches great for them. They can have Freddie Peralta get healthy and be able to be himself. They can bring up a Quinn Priester that can sit in there. They've all got 3.5 to a 3.0 ERA, all of them. And there's more than the guys that I named. And their bullpen's the same way. For years, we've talked about the Brewers and said, I don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to have 5 or 6 or 7 guys out there with a 2.5 ERA that you've never heard of, but they're producing year in and year out, and they know when to get out from a guy as well.
Right.
I mean, the Devin Williams thing is uncanny. It'd be just impossible that he goes and is struggling the way that he has with the Yankees after being basically the best reliever in baseball. They're perfect. I mean, they know when to trade a guy. They know when to sign a veteran free agent to a pillow contract. They know when to bring up the right guys. They've got arms coming out the ears. It's unbelievable what the Brewers have continued to do. And if you're trying to talk about player development, evaluate, develop, that's the organization to model yourself after over the past, handful of years, maybe more.
Now, arms coming out the ears is an interesting visual.
It's not good. I said it and then I thought it and then I was like, just kind of like swinging out from side to side. Not great, but you get the image.
And here's the other thing. So they trade Devin Williams and they realize, okay, they cut their losses with Cortez, right? And traded him to the Padres. But they got Caleb Durbin, the Wash U third baseman,
Mhm.
and Durbin has been really serviceable for them. He's been he's been the best third baseman that they've had. So even though he wasn't the big guy in the trade of Devin Williams, they're getting something out of that trade. They don't seem to suffer many losses when they make a transaction.
And oh my gosh, we were talking about the Andrew Vaughn thing. Like, what the heck? How he's the best player in baseball since they got him.
And
it's unbelievable
for a guy that had asked for a trade because he wasn't in the rotation anymore.
Even the guy, like, they're like, we'll show you. It was we thought they were just spiting Savali. Like, we'll show you. We'll send you to the White Sox. See how you like it. And then they end up with a stud first baseman who's controllable, I think, for a couple more years. Bryce Terang comes up. Sal Frelick comes up. They're all 750 or above on OPS. William Contreras. They've got nobody that's a dud.
No.
Like you said, and 1 through 8 or 1 through 9, they've got guys. And that's sort of what I have argued the Cardinals could become. The Cardinals are nowhere close to becoming that on the pitching side. Although maybe like when you look at if a Swanson, if an O'Brien, if that archetype kind of sticks, you start to see that kind of feels like how the Brewers end up turning out relievers. Aaron Ashby was a failed starter, and now he's got an ERA of 2 in the bullpen. Like over and over again, they do this. But offensively, when we played the game coming into the season about the Cardinals and said, hey, is the lineup going to be better with all the same guys? And I went down 1 through 9 with people and made them tell me who's going to be worse, like who's going to completely fall off the map. And you had guys like Gorman and guys like Walker that you said, well, they can't really get any worse. So if they get better, maybe that's a 1 through 9 where everybody's OPS in 710 to 730 to 750 to 770. Like they're not terribly far away from being that, but they have to nip and tuck with a few different pieces to get it there.
And that's why they have the runway, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm not convinced, as rough as things have been for the last couple of months for Victor Scott II, I'm not convinced that he can't be a good offensive player. He was a good offensive player in the minors. Now, I don't think that even getting to a 300 on base is enough. I think he needs to get to at least a 320, 330 on base. But I think that he's capable of that. He's certainly capable of hitting better than he has hit lately. He just needs to be better. But we've seen Gorman get better, to your point. We've seen Jordan Walker get better. Burleson has ascended and I think is a more than serviceable player. I think there's a lot of good elements to this team. And I don't think there's anybody on the roster now where I say he doesn't have a chance.
I know.
We've seen it in the past. We've seen where he doesn't have a chance of being a good major league player. I think all of the guys that they have now have at least a chance of doing something really well. I think Pozo's the best pinch hitter right now. Well, I'll go with Pozo and Brandon Marsh are probably the 2 best pinch hitters in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just that's a niche thing. Yeah. Like it feels like it's not something that a roster prioritizes going out and acquiring on purpose until they've got everything else solved. It's kind of like you talk about adding to a great bullpen. Well, do we even know if we're going to need a closer if this isn't our year to be contending? Those types of pinch hitters off your bench can be valuable. I'm just looking at the Cardinals numbers right now though, and I wanted to evaluate like how close has it been to what I kind of thought it would be coming into the year with all these guys just OPSing in the mid 700s or above. Herrera's 839, Contreras 787, Burley is 782, Donovan is 757, Gorman is 725. Mason Wynn, like if Mason Wynn gives you 10% more to go from 706 to now he's 730, 740. If Lars Nootbaar is more than the 699 and he's back toward his career norms at 740, 750, like I think I named like 8 or 9 guys. Arenado's going the other way, so you can't expect him to turn into a guy that's going to get back into that. He's at 660 and has been, declining. Victor Scott, if he can, he's down there at 614, but if he comes up, if Walker comes up, I just gave you 4 ifs, so I'm not saying they're right there. No, they've got about half, but these are players that we wouldn't be surprised if any of them did it. If any of them went 20% more than what they're giving you to be a lineup 1 through 9, all OPSing 710, 720 or above. And that keeps you in it. That's where they lack consistency, is the days where the half of the lineup that's decent doesn't perform and the other half can't be expected to because their numbers aren't good enough. Well, then you get shut out. The Cardinals have been shut out too many times, things like that.
Yeah. And because of that, at the beginning of the season, I gave the Mo Memorial, there's a wide delta of possibilities.
Variance.
I figured they could do anything from 2023, 71 wins to 2024, 83 wins. And I still think that's probably where they'll land. They'll probably, and I don't think that they'll fall to 71 because that'd be a precipitous drop off. That'd only be 10 more wins the rest of the season. But I think 83 wins, just like they had last year, is probably a pretty strong likelihood. And if they can get on a roll and get to 85, 86 wins, then you take your chances.
Yeah, and like it feels a little bit frustrating to have a team built to feel like that's like the good version of what they can become, because fans are saying, I'm tired of being stuck in the middle. I'm tired of, striving for a wild card and having that be the best thing that you can do. But again, this was a year where easily, as you said, with the wide delta, the significant variance, it could have gone in the other direction. Win totals, if you were of the betting ilk and would have said preseason, I want to bet the Cardinals win total, you were looking at a number over under 76, 77.5. And the Cardinals have consistently been above that range so far this season. So they're outperforming the public expectations. And even if the ceiling isn't necessarily super high for this Cardinals team, especially at this point in the season, to look to kind of have the attitude of, well, this is just not a team that really is going anywhere. We're stuck in the middle. We need to rebuild. All of those things. I still have trouble believing and feeling that, even though I can respect the frustrations that fans have of kind of feeling in the same center of the league for the last several years.
And so I'm going to, but what are we pointing at?
He's pointing everywhere.
Okay. We've got a director here.
I'm
looking right at you.
Tone it down. You're scaring us.
Looking at you, buddy. I do think that I know. I always say that, but I think
that I know. And I know that I think.
The goal is, if there's not a work stoppage after next year, the goal is to be good, to expect the playoffs in 26 and to be really good in 27. That's the plan. They need to give pitchers runway next year and then get your offensive players to a point where the gaps of lack of productivity are lessened. So rather than having a bad 10 days, maybe you have a bad 3 or 4 days and then you readjust back. That takes time with young players. And that's what the Cardinals are striving for now. That's why these young players are getting runway. But I think it's a reasonable expectation for the Cardinals to be good next year and then hopefully great in 2026.
Because they're not bad this year.
No, they aren't.
They're a fine team that had some flaws. It came in with some flaws. You came in knowing that Miles Mikolas was going to pitch for you 30 times this year. And half the time, he's going to give up 5+ runs, and you're going to go, what the heck happened? There's going to be a significant portion of the time that he's going to be very, very good, like he was last night. But that's going to total to a number 5 starter. And you knew that you were going to give the runway to Palante, sink or swim, and whatever that looks like, you can at least evaluate it for the future seasons. But that could come with some ups and downs. Like, you knew that you were committed to doing some things that could lead to fewer wins this year. But with the number of things breaking in a positive direction, the Cardinals aren't as far away as I feel like the narrative that surrounds them believes it to be.
Agreed 100%. Joseph G., I need to do more research on this lockout. Everyone keeps referencing it, and I don't know what they're talking about.
That's fair.
Ownership kind of wants a salary cap and a salary floor. Players don't want a salary cap and a salary floor.
Not just kind of. They kind of don't want it. No, they really are
not. Get
not.
the blank out of my clubhouse.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is kind of like the Dodgers lockout, because there are teams that feel like franchises that feel like they don't have a chance. Teams that previously thought that they had a chance. And I think the comp that I make here is the Kansas City Royals can win now and then. They can have their 2014, 2015, but they cannot have, under the current system, a prolonged level of success because they aren't going to be able to keep their players. Look at 2014, 2015, when they had Lorenzo Cain, and they had Johnny Cueto that year, and they weren't able to keep Zobrist. And I think the only guy they really did keep for the long term was Gordon. They lost Moustakas, they lost Hosmer. It was a pretty good team, and guys wanted to stick around, but they just couldn't afford it in Kansas City. And those players wind up going to San Diego. I think Hosmer went to, and Moustakas winds up leaving as a free agent. Maybe they traded him. They just couldn't afford to keep their team together. Well, that's the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Chiefs can be great for a long time because of revenue sharing and the ability in a small market to maintain a quality roster for an extended period of time. And I think that's what Rob Manfred and the people that run baseball are striving for, is everybody having a reasonable financial opportunity to compete, not just for 1 or 2 years, but for multiple years.
In the hesitancy of the players' side is that, how does this limit our potential opportunities for, I think certainly those big type of star player contracts are ones that would have to change, because you wouldn't have the ceiling on what teams are allowed to spend. Currently, you've got the luxury tax system in place that, kind of slaps you on the wrist for spending big like that, but it's very workable, especially for teams like the Dodgers, who are run by the investment guys that know their money is making money and they're deferring all the contracts. That's the thing I would get rid of, by the way, rather than, talking about a cap necessarily. But then, to the point of, if you installed a salary floor with a salary cap, does that actually help the middle class of baseball more? It'll be very interesting to see the way that the players as a group kind of coalesce around the ideas and what wins out. But it seems like we're so far away from even being at the table to start ironing some things out. To the original question, the reason that we're talking about 2027 is potentially a lost year is because we know that on December 1, 2026, that's the drop dead date. Mm-hmm. And it almost feels like a foregone conclusion that the conversations aren't even going to begin until that point. And so we're going to have another sort of off-season freeze like we did after the COVID year. And hopefully it's not something that creeps into February, March, April, May. But this time it feels like the players' side, because they feel like they know the salary cap thing is coming, even though Rob Manfred said, I haven't said the word salary cap to them. They feel like that's going to be a huge point of contention. The players, in what's leaked out and been reported, feels like they're ready to sort of dig their heels in as well and fight it. And so that's why we talk about 2027 in the way that we do. It's a fair question, because for people who may not be super versed in what's going on, that it might be kind of confusing, but that's why.
So, and Bryce, I know you're watching, whether it's on your phone or your laptop, and I know you have a great deal of respect for the knowledge of your agent, Scott Boras. But let me give you some concrete numbers here. And these are a couple months old, but they really haven't changed dramatically, okay? So the highest paid guy in your sport, and any sport in America, is Shohei Ohtani, making $70 million this year, okay? But after Shohei, let's take a look at some salary cap guys, okay? Second highest paid guy in major American team sports, Joel Embiid, made $64 million. Jason Tatum, $62.7 million. Steph Curry, $62.5. Now, these have been eclipsed by other NBA guys. Then Dak Prescott at $60 million, salary cap, and 53-man rosters plus practice squads. Then Giannis at 58.4. Then Street Clothes at 58.4. Guy that never plays, making 58.4, a.k.a. Anthony Davis. Jaylen Brown, $57 million. Damian Lillard, $56 million. Jimmy Butler, $55.4 million. Jokic, $55 million. All of these guys are salary cap guys. Adebayo, $55 million. Towns, $55 million. Karl Anthony Towns. Devin Booker, $55 million. Allen, $55 million. That would be Josh Allen. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million. Joe Burrow, $55 million. Salary cap guys. Jordan Love, $55 million. By the way, Jordan Love has to have a procedure on his finger and won't be ready till the start of the season. Tua, $53.1. Goff, $53 million. Paul George, $52.8. Justin Herbert, 52.5.
We've got every quarterback already.
Yeah. Yep. And then you have Murray.
You don't have to be
and
good.
Hurts.
You just have to start.
So Soto, finally, you get to another baseball player at $51 million. And then you've got LeBron, and then you've got some other baseball players, Zach Wheeler, Judge, Bregman, down in the $40 million range. But because of a salary floor, the salary cap doesn't really cause players to be punished as much as you think, Bryce, they're going to be punished. The top end is not going to be the group that's affected with a salary cap. The group that's going to be affected, because player ownership is going to provide you guys 50% of the revenue rather than the 43% they're paying right now. It's going to help the younger players, and it's going to help the middle class players make more money in baseball, if indeed you do have a salary cap and a salary floor. So I think that for Bryce and Tony Clark to say we'll never have a cap, it's not fair to the younger players and the middle class players. And it's really disingenuous to say, oh yeah, well, we won't make as much money, because I just showed you that in other sports, they will, and they are. And by the way, now you've got the Max Crosbys of the world and the Myles Garretts of the world making their $40 million as well. As much as Bregman and Judge. You've got a couple of defensive ends making as much as Aaron Judge is making.
Yeah, no. Well, I think that's the concern, though, too, from those types of players, is that, what does the higher end look like if the cap is installed and teams, the very few teams that are willing to pay market value for the elite talents of the game, which is like the Dodgers and the Mets right now. What if those guys are capped and not allowed to do it? what happens then. And like, again, a lot of what you said has validity. I think if it's ever going to happen, because the players really feel like they're dug in on it. And again, are the players themselves united in this? Because you mentioned there might be a different perspective from the big name players that already have their big contracts versus the next guys on the way up. And that'll be an interesting thing to see unfold. But the significant difference that I do not, you made a lot of comparisons there. I don't agree that it's fair to compare baseball to salary cap leagues until you take away a significant amount of the team control that is allowable over baseball players in the prime years of their careers, because teams,
that has to be part of it.
It has to be a significant part of it. Otherwise, it's apples and oranges. And I appreciate a lot of what you read off there. I don't think it's as relevant, because you look at what those guys in those sports are able to access at 21, 22, 23, and baseball players are playing for peanuts most of the time, unless they're the best of the best at those ages. And then they get 6 years once they're in MLB,
right,
where their numbers are capped and they can't go to free agency. So that's where it's a little bit different.
You have to cut that back. As a matter of fact, with the way things are working in minor league systems now, you might have to, if your ownership, make a decision on a minor league player in 3 years.
Yes.
And then make a major.
It shouldn't be 5.
Right.
Especially now that we've taken away a lot of the rookie ball teams and they've trimmed down the number of organizations there are. And that's going to be unfortunate, because baseball is that sport where you can be a 20th round draft pick and you can make it. So there's still an opportunity for that. But if the guys at the MLB level aren't getting the opportunities to get their salary as they feel it should be, you have to make some changes.
So here's the way to do it. 3 years. If you're in by your 4th year, if you aren't in the majors, then you have the ability to become a free agent. Then after 2 years, you get arbitration. And after 4 years, just like in the NFL, you would get free agents.
So instead of a Rule 5 draft, it's a Rule 3 draft
basically,
now. Yeah. And instead of 6 years, it's 4. And that, to me, I think, and again, I don't know how much players go for that. And certainly, again, the guys in the minors that say, I might need 5 years to get noticed. Like, it's going to mean fewer opportunities down the line in terms of the way that minor league baseball looks. But that's,
don't you think that
it's already gone that direction? 100%.
With a 20-round draft rather than a 50-round draft, and with 4 minor league teams, the Cardinals used to have 7 minor league teams. That's 75, 78 jobs for minor leaguers that used to be there that aren't. So now you have to make decisions more quickly to be a good organization. That's one of the problems the Cardinals have.
100%.
They aren't moving guys fast enough. They aren't evaluating quickly enough.
Yeah. And look, there are going to be a plethora of examples of guys who maybe need that. They're late bloomers. They need that time to develop. And that will be a fundamental change to the game in the way that it's structured all the way down through the minors, if in fact this type of vibe comes to the sport. But I wonder if that would be something that, in conjunction with, like, hey, we're doing the salary cap thing, tell us the number of things that you need to get it in place, but that's what we're doing. If it ever comes to that, how much they look at the front end of it, because that middle class of players, they get screwed by the system of baseball that they can toil away for 5 years, and then it's another 6 until they can even become eligible for free agency. And frankly, it can be longer than that if teams are using their options, because you get 3 option years. So in theory, you could be a player. Now, the great ones aren't going to have to deal with that because they won't be optioned consistently. But think about being an MLB reliever and just the vast amount of time that they could sort of lord over you before really having to make some decisions on you. And you can go through a 10-year professional baseball career with really not making a whole heck of a lot of money and getting to free agency.
You can, they can keep you for 12 years.
They can
keep you to the end of your 5th year in the minors, and then the end of your 5th year in the majors. So essentially, you can go 12 years of being a pro baseball player. I
think it's longer. Because if you're not
a free agency for minor leaguers,
right?
6 years for the majors
of service time, though, because once you're on the 40-man, then we can start optioning you back and forth, and you're not accruing enough service time during those years, right?
Theoretically, you could go to college, get drafted when you're 21 or 22, and let's say 21. They could keep you until you're 33, 34 years old without you ever, theoretically, without you ever getting that opportunity. Now, would they do it? Would they stick with somebody that long? Probably not.
No,
it just could happen. Okay, so can we? I want to go back to. I want to go back two things. I want to go back to the one about the revenues for baseball, because revenue in baseball. This is Craig Lewis. Can I ask what teams in baseball are losing money? Nobody is.
No.
And Lex Luthor, we appreciate it. I find it crazy that Karl Anthony Towns makes more than every MLB player except Shohei. That is incredible. But in terms of baseball revenues, they're doing exceptionally well. They aren't doing NFL well, but I think they made $12 billion or $12.5 billion last year, and the NFL is like at $17 billion. And there are many fewer players in Major League Baseball, half of the size of the roster, a baseball team, and 2 fewer teams in Major League Baseball. So theoretically, again, with revenues being what they are in baseball and football, the players individually should make more in baseball than they make in football. And then in terms of the individuals, I agree 100% that the players should get 50% of the revenues, accept 50% of the revenues, and the teams should have to spend 50% of what they make.
Yeah, and I don't have a front-facing way to dispute that would help. I think it would help. I wonder, like, the player side of thing is like, yeah, you should do that anyway. You should be doing that anyway, rather than saying that's contingent on a cap. And that's what the negotiation is going to be about. It's going to be very interesting to see, exactly how staunch one side or the other is going to be on the particulars. And if there's a major concession made, what does the other side grant as a result of that? If it is changing the structure of arbitration and changing the way that goes, maybe that could be the opening, Randy, to get something resolved at a certain point. My issue is it's August 12th of 2025. Can we begin doing this kind of stuff now? And the answer is probably no.
We're
because
talking lockout before we ever negotiate.
And that's why when you hear like Tony Clark say, we see what's out there in the media, we don't really like that it's all happening through leaked information and things of that nature. Let's sit down at the table. That would be the way to resolve it. But there's no pressure if there's no deadline that is forcing you into the pressure. And so that's why spring training 2027 isn't going to be a thing. And I'm hoping that's all that's not going to be a thing, because it's going to feel a lot like 2021, but it could be worse. That's the feeling.
Major League Baseball's revenues last year were $12.1 billion. And nobody's ever going to, bosses aren't going to pay you more than they have to. So, for example, Major League Baseball owners now, according to Manfred, are paying the players 43% of the revenue.
Right.
And the offer would be 50% like the other salary caps. And I don't think that players are going to say, yeah, we'd love to take less. And I don't think owners, if they're given that power, they aren't all of a sudden going to say, well, yeah, you know what, you guys do deserve 50% of the revenue, so we're going to give it to you. No, if it's at 43 now and they don't have a salary floor and that doesn't change, that percentage of revenue that baseball owners are giving to the players, it's only going to go down in the future unless there's a mechanism in place to force the owners to make it a higher number.
And there is a larger number of owners that are just content to collect the revenue sharing and circumvent rules that I thought were already in place about needing to spend to your payroll to the level of what you're receiving in revenue sharing. And I don't even know if that happens in some places. I don't know how that would be possible if it's a rule, but I think you've got more of those types of ownership groups than you do of the, you can name them on one hand, the Dodgers, Steve Cohen, and maybe Yankees still spend decently well. The Padres had been willing to spend, but they're now going through an ownership change. And so we don't really know what that's going to look like long-term. And so you would think that would be beneficial if the floor was significantly increased. The guys that you talk about your veteran pinch hitter, Randy, like that's a role that suddenly go, well, we got to spend to 90 million or whatever. Let's sign, this guy off the bench for 5 million because we got to do it anyway. And it maybe makes us better.
If a player makes 40 million a year, that would last most people a lifetime. Why do they need all this money? They don't need all this money.
What are we doing?
Agents.
What do you do for work? Yeah. What do you do for work with that question? Because if somebody's going to come to your job and pay a TV rights deal to watch you work, then, okay, maybe we can have a different conversation about what you need or what you're worth. But these guys, it's not about need. It's about what the market decides you're worth. And that's because people enjoy the sports. They're fans. They go to the games. They watch it on TV. There's money in all of this business. And so that's why the people that put on the product get paid very, very well. They are the whole thing.
See, and that's the thing. I would much rather see the product get paid than the owners put that money in their pockets.
That's how I feel. But like from that standpoint, it's like, okay, the salary cap thing is a dangerous conversation, but again, that's what the negotiation is going to be about. If it comes with all these other aspects, Randy, like a floor and like maybe shortening up the arb time, shortening up the vice grip that teams can have over players, do they find a happy medium? Because as you noted, salary cap in and of itself is not necessarily an evil, because you've seen how it can really work well in other sports. Baseball has a completely different function in the way that there's no guaranteed contracts in some of these other sports. There's the contract that you hear reported by ESPN, and then there's what actually the quarterback is guaranteed to make. In baseball, when they tell you what the contract is, that's what they're getting paid.
Yeah.
And so that's something that benefits players in baseball without a doubt. But it should be that way because we've highlighted how for a decade they could kind of take you for a ride if they really wanted to, and you don't necessarily have the same earning opportunities. And so if we want to say baseball should be like the salary cap sports, you have to also change it in the other ways to make it so.
Absolutely. Lex Luthor, one more. I just can't imagine any sports league losing a full season in the modern attention economy.
It would be a nightmare. I mean, it would be a huge problem.
The group that is dumb enough to do it, what we need is a completely stupid and futile gesture on somebody's part. We're just the guys to do it. It's baseball ownership. Yeah, they would do it.
Yep.
We've got a legendary event coming to St. Louis. It's a legendary weekend, and you don't want to miss the Stifel Charity Classic presented by Compliance Solutions. It's September 4th through 7th at the historic Norwood Hills Country Club, and you can watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. Some of the names that were at the top of the leaderboard last year, along with winner Y.E. Yang, Bernhard Langer, Stuart Sink, Justin Leonard, Chris DeMarco, Darren Clark, and more. Plus, you can enjoy a live performance by music sensation O.A.R. at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military, veterans, and first responders get in free. You can get your tickets today at StifelCharityClassic.com. That's StifelCharityClassic.com. And we will see you at Norwood Hills, September 4th through 7th at the Stifel Charity Classic.
Got my mic on here. We are going to be giving away 2 tickets so that I know that those tickets are extremely affordable, but we're going to be giving away 2 tickets to that concert for O.A.R. on Friday the 5th out at the Stifel Charity Classic right now on STL Sports Central on the Randy Karraker Show. And we do it always the same way. We're always doing a little bit of a, sorry, I'm trying to add myself into the camera here. I know people,
bubble.
I know people like when I'm in the bubble.
You got to bubble.
I'm bubbling. I'm bubbling.
Bubbles.
Jeez, I'm bubbling. There, I'm bubbled. Bubble to the very top. Here, I'll move myself down because the bubble's I'm a little out of it.
You got to move yourself down because, again, you got to get the head to fit in there.
Yeah,
I need to go to one side of there. Look.
Yeah, you gotta lean a little bit to that side.
Well, lean to accommodate you.
Right over the
there we go. Yeah, that there I am. I'm there right now. So
can you move yourself to the Sports Central side?
Yes, I can. I can move it up. I can blow myself up a little bit, make myself a little bit bigger.
This is all production value right here.
How's that? Is that a little bit better for everybody? Everyone enjoy that more?
I like that.
All right.
That's some dexterity. He just said he could blow himself up. So that's pretty
cool. Oh, geez. So we're going to give away our tickets the same way we have been giving away these tickets, which is get into the chat and answer our question right. And if you're the one who answers our question correctly first, you are winning 2 tickets to see O.A.R. on September 5th out at the Stifel Charity Classic at Norwood Hills. And here is our trivia question today. We call it, by the way, Brenden, I introduced this last week. We call it the low and away question of the day. Okay. Because it's down and away in the corner where Jordan Walker can't get it. Oh. Eventually, that joke isn't going to work anymore, and we're going to be happy that I can no longer make it.
Yeah, you jerk.
Low and away question of the day. Doing so in his age 21 season, which AL player is the youngest to win an MLB MVP award? Doing so in his age 21 season, which AL player is the youngest, like I say was the youngest, to win an MLB MVP award? First person to answer there gets 2 tickets to see O.A.R. out of the Stifel Charity Classic.
I'm excited.
Now we're gonna have to wait, and you guys talk amongst yourselves as we wait for the.
What do you want
to
to talk about, Randy, while they're answering this question?
We can talk about Cardinal rookies. No, he wasn't a rookie, I guess. Cardinal youngsters.
He was in his 3rd season.
Okay, good. Cardinal youngsters that have won the MVP award. So Willie was a rookie in '82. He got robbed for Rookie of the Year. Not always. Well, here's what I do with Immaculate Grid. I think of Willie as Rookie of the Year because he should have won it. The aforementioned Steve Sachs won it in 1982, only because he was a Dodger. I think there was a time where the writers just voted for any Dodger rookie because they won like 5 in a row twice, and it was just ridiculous.
Probably seems right. Yeah.
So, but Willie was 85, 82, 83, 80. He was in his 4th year when he won his first. Wasn't Albert 01, 02, 03, 04? Albert was in his 5th year when he won his first MVP, and then obviously won a couple of more.
And Rocchio's saying this AL player was a 3rd-year player at age 21. So they got a fast start.
19.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think I would take a guess. Let's see if
Albert in 05.
it's on the screen.
Yeah.
Somebody's where's this? No.
I will give everybody a little bit of a hint here.
Okay.
The team
No,
plays
Google.
west of the
Chat.
Mississippi, and the man won Cy Young the same year he won MVP.
He's a pitcher.
He's a pitcher, and it's a team west of the Mississippi. That's on the left side of the map if you're looking
Oh,
at it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I have
there
to
you go.
kind of do a little.
Okay.
Way I can figure that one out.
That's
Not gotten the correct answer.
I don't
We've
think we're-
Reggie Jackson, Mickey Mantle, Babe
A
Ruth,
pitcher.
Ty Cobb, Bo Jackson. That's before I gave the hint. Alex Hernandez, Rene Ochoa,
Rene Arocha was a Cardinal.
Arocha.
Arocha.
Fred Lynn, A-Rod, 2011, 2000, Mike Trout, Ty Cobb, no. Joe McGrain, Robin Young, Griffey Jr. Those
think
a couple of those guys
Robin
were not.
Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the winner. Ding, ding, ding.
Somebody
ding,
won?
ding. Dalton Ferris comes in with the correct answer. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. It was back in 1971 for
Wow.
the Oakland Athletics. Vida Blue in his age
Okay.
21 season goes 24-8 for the 1971 Oakland Athletics. He wins the MVP. He wins the Cy Young at 21 years old. Congratulations to Dalton Ferris, who comes in with the correct answer. Vida Blue. Great job, Dalton.
I think that obviously Catfish Hunter was one of the starters on that team. Mike Torres, obviously Raleigh Fingers was a bullpen. That was a good team. So they had, and Charlie Finley, with the help of Whitey Herzog, put together a great group. Sal Bando at third, Bert Campaneris at short. I think Dick Green might have been their second baseman. Gene Tennis played some first base for them. And then they had Joe Rudy, who was their center field? Billy North in center, and Reggie and right.
I'm just laughing because after the correct answer was chimed in from Dalton, Graham said, Vida Blue is a good guess. It's the best guess.
It's
It was
the best
correct
guess.
one.
And thank you so much, Dalton
love that.
Ferris. We're going to get you those tickets. One of those two ways you can do that, either in the chat right now on the on the YouTube, you can put your first name, your last name, and your email address, or you can text us
If you want some
that
privacy.
information. If you want a little privacy, you
Privacy.
can text us that information at 314-590-3770. I'll be putting that in the chat as well. So you can send us your information so we can get you those tickets,
Way to go,
courtesy of Stifel Charity Classic.
So here's how America has changed. When I was a kid and the A's were really good in the early 70s, and they played the Big Red Machine.
That just doesn't compute, that statement.
They were, yeah.
They were good being
They were
weird.
good. But so when I was in grade school during the World Series, and they played only day games when I was a kid in the World Series. As a matter of fact, the Cardinals played the last World Series day game in 1987 against the Twins at the Metrodome. But they would wheel, and this happened for every classroom, they would wheel the television into the room so that you could watch the World Series game while you were in grade school. It was really cool. And I wish that A, we had day games again in the World Series, and B, that youngsters got the opportunity to see those games. Because wouldn't that have been fun for you? Would you have enjoyed that?
Yeah,
watching
day
World Series
game,
games
day game
rather
World
than-
Series.
rather than school.
Now, was that something they did if just the local team was on, or no matter
No,
what?
we were watching the A's and the Reds,
That's
the A's
awesome.
and the Dodgers. Yeah, so it
Oh,
was
that's
fun.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had to find different ways to watch. And it wasn't World Series games because by the time I was in school, that was always happening at night.
Yeah.
But whether it was March Madness or day baseball or whatever, you'd have to follow it any way that you could. I think there was a couple of times where a teacher would put on a baseball game, like if it was a day playoff baseball game
Yeah,
for the
that was
Cardinals. Like I want to say 06, like the Padres NLDS, there was a day game during that series maybe, or it could have been a little earlier, but that would happen.
Ronnie Belliard game.
That would happen on
I
occasion.
feel like there was one fall of 01.
Yeah.
Can I remember that? Because I remember I was in my other fifth grade class.
Could be.
We had two fifth grade classes, and I was in one when 9/11 happens, and I was in one when we watched the Cardinals playoff game. So I very remember being in fifth grade in
So San
2001.
Francisco.
I think that would line up.
Okay.
I always love day playoff baseball
they're the
games.
best.
It's the best time of year.
We had
Oh, I
And you
love
know
it.
what's really cool is a day playoff game followed by a Blues night game both in St. Louis. That doubleheader is spectacular.
We got some Lex Luthor. Randy was a child before artificial lights were invented.
Yes, I was. So
Mason,
we had candles in our room. So
Mason Windu, they only played day games. The light bulb hadn't been invented yet. No, the light bulb had been invented already.
you're not wrong.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Edison finally lit everything up, and Menlo Park changed the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. But you know what? We didn't have to go to. Well, we were in school, but we didn't have to theoretically learn anything.
The truancy officers were a lot lazier back then too, so it was all good.
Oh man! So when I was speaking of truancy officers, when I was a junior in high school, one year we had a really bad substitute teacher. Our regular teacher, our marketing teacher, was going on a trip or something. I don't know if it was like vacation during the year or what, but it was spring, and we had a substitute teacher for both Thursday and Friday, and we knew that. And the substitute teacher was the worst. Hated the substitute teacher. There were like 23 kids in this marketing class. And at some point, I don't know why, maybe because she hated us, the substitute teacher walked out of the room. And I said, guys, we can't do this again tomorrow. We got to get out of here. So I convinced everybody except for one person. I had 22 out of 23 people I convinced to go to Wendy's for lunch on Friday.
Nice.
It was really cool. And so that was when
one person stayed back.
Yeah, the person that was scared, probably maybe of her parents or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like it's almost worse to be the only one staying. It's
I think so.
I have to know that. B-Schaef, you went to a public school. Did you
in high school? Yeah.
Did you do any class cutting, class skipping, any of that?
Not really. So when we would have our like AP tests and different things like that, sometimes it would be off campus down the street or something. And there was one time where, and like this was like, you know, and it was an AP class, so we're smart kids that tried hard and most of the time paid attention to the rules and stuff like that. But like, I think it was, they expected us back at school at a certain time. Our test got done early. And so we went to Chick-fil-A and we're like, it's fine. Like enough of us drive, we can ride together and come back. And so when we're coming back through, like the only open door in the school is like it's all of us, same kids. And it's like, what are you going to do? There's all of us. And I think there might've been like a slap on the wrist kind of thing, but it was also like, you know, somebody brought the cup back. I think that's how they found it. Because again, the timing was going to be perfect. That's the way that smart kids and AP kids have to do their rule breaking. It's like, if it's plausible deniability and it's within the range, we can all kind of get away with it. Somebody brought the Chick-fil-A milkshake back or whatever.
If you're a good kid, there's a much less chance of you getting detention.
We're like, what do you look at? These are the people, you don't even know us because we've never been in your office. Like, just relax. It's gonna be fine.
That's what they do. Another time when I went out for lunch, I came back into the Commons at Parkway North and sit down. Somebody said, "Where'd you go?" And I said, "I went out for lunch." I don't even remember where I went. And I get a tap on the shoulder. The assistant principal is right behind me. He said, "Karraker, you can't say that with me sitting right
like, but it was probably fine, right?
It was fine.
Because you conduct yourself in a certain way. To your question, yes, I did skip school every March. I didn't go Thursday, Friday. Like going back to All Saints Catholic grade school in St. Peter's. I didn't go. I stayed home for those. And I was like, I'm gonna watch
this. Is NCAA tournament.
I'm gonna watch March Madness at home. I'm gonna.
Without your parents calling you sick? You just wouldn't go?
I think there was
probably,
I think my mom probably made the phone call
because
in
high
school it wouldn't matter.
For me, that's like that was one thing when I got to college was like blew my mind when I started hearing kids tell me about public school kids tell me about just not going to school for a day because that doesn't exist at private schooling. Like those dudes are like there's a person at every private school who's hoping a kid wants to skip that day because he goes, makes my day. I got an activity now for the first 5 or 6 hours. They will find you and they will drag you back to that school that day. You're not
but if you
out
had
of
like
there.
a doctor's note or like a call,
I mean, if your parents called you were fine. But like if you just didn't show up to school without your parents calling you, they were going to be on your ass, like full on truancy officer level stuff. They were going to find you and bring you into school that day. And so
what age range was this at?
I'm saying through high school.
Okay, high school.
So I got into college. I never skipped a class or I never skipped school before. And I did too much of that in college because I was like, oh, I can do this now.
For a good portion of like my freshman year of high school, I kind of going from Catholic school to now I'm in public school, there was definitely some slacking off that happened. And you go, oh, okay, you do have to maybe study or do some homework to be able to get by. And so I kind of got by. By the second 2 years of my high school career, I had my high school sweetheart who's now my wife, and so like I was always
Done.
she was a reason to go to
Nicely
school.
done.
So I really didn't skip my senior year. I could have skipped way more, but I was like, I can see this girl for 2 minutes every hour, you know, and then that was kind of in retrospect kind of dumb, but it worked. You know, we're here today, so yeah, I didn't really do a lot of skipping at that point.
Hey, thanks to Chip Caray for joining us. You can always watch this again, obviously, on the YouTube. Thanks to our friends at the Stifel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th. And you can get tickets to watch O.A.R. at StifelCharityClassic.com. Great concert. Everybody's going to be there, so you want to check that out. And thanks to our friends at DraftKings for presenting us here at STL Sports Central, for presenting the Randy Karraker Show. And DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. B-Schaef, great job as always.
Yeah, fun times.
Matthew, thank you, sir. And we appreciate you. And don't forget, we have STL Sports 365. What's the name of that
Something
show?
like that. Card Central 365.
Card Central 365. We
It
had a
doesn't
before and
matter.
after the Cards and the Rockies today. And don't forget, tomorrow, day game. So we'll have an early edition of Card Central 365.
Ooh.
And then probably a late afternoon edition of that fine program as well.
It is a
as
fine
you can-
program.
And yeah, you have to react. It's the best place to react to what the Cardinals have done during the course of the day and what they're going to do during the course of the day. Any other big news, Joe Roderick? Our director of content, Joe Roderick, is standing off to the side.
Yeah, big
Anything
news.
else we need to report on here?
Anything big?
You
I
can
don't
say-
know what he's talking about. Football. John Mateer needs to make his Venmo private. That's
Well,
what
I was
know.
gonna say, no, just pump up. Texas preview is up right now.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it-
our
is that the only one?
Texas-
Is that the only preview up right now?
We got 4 previews up.
4 previews up.
Four
What?
more going up this week. SEC football.
Auburn,
Give him the microphone because he can plug it the way it needs to be
Texas,
plugged.
Georgia, Ole Miss, and Auburn. So it includes interviews with go to Southeast Sports Fans online or on YouTube to find that.
And you'll see me there
You will
talking about
find,
Love it.
college football.
Brenden Schaeffer and Hannah Barton, Kylie Hansen with that. We have interviews in those previews from Stats Norsworthy.
There you go.
Don't know if you know him, Randy,
I don't.
down in Memphis, down on 56 in Memphis, or not, maybe a different
Big
radio
old,
station
big
down
Ole
in
Miss
Memphis.
guy, man. He knows
Huge
his
Ole
stuff.
Miss guy.
Okay, good.
And Cole Kublik
He's great.
of ESPN. Yeah,
Yep.
he's on there previewing
There you go.
Auburn.
Go hit
Um,
subscribe. I just put it in the chat if it's going to work.
There you go.
They talked to world's strongest man, Mark Henry, about Texas, WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry.
Oh, nice. Okay, so there we go.
Little
What's that,
wrestling.
what's
There
that
you go.
site again? Where we
SoutheastSportsFans.com or just go to YouTube. I put it right there in the chat. Southeast Sports Fans on YouTube.
A new branch of what we're doing here.
Love it. Love to have it. And we want you to be a part of it. So subscribe to this. Just hit subscribe to the YouTube channel and go to STLSportsCentral.com for all the information about this fine network of channels. And we will see you tomorrow at 10:04 here on the Randy Karraker Show. So long, everybody.
Keeps getting later and later.